Good.
You don't need to roll again.
God is not our friend tonight. Or at least we're live, by the way. I'm talking. This is happening. This is real. This really fucking took way too long. I don't know what today is, but it's a bad day for fucking internet shit.
Technical difficulties.
You mean I'm not late?
No, you're just on time.
No, you're completely on time. You are.
I would like to start off with thanks to our Patreon members.
Thanks, Patreon.
Holker, Nostalgic, and Natalia Cline for supporting us.
Thank you, guys.
We need more. Anytime you get the opportunity to become a Patreon, go to our patreon.com/DreadLore, and you too can support us. Art media by Couchfire Media, and you don't have to roll to win with Trois Reblay Productions. They are here as well. So this is the Geeky Gamer Podcast.
Geeky Gamer Podcast.
Fuck, it was hard to get on the internet today.
It really wasn't that bad, though.
It only took 50 minutes. 50 fucking minutes. Through no fault of our own.
I mean, we probably had a little bit of had something to do with it. I'm just gonna be a contrary fuck all night. That's what I'm gonna do.
Don't be like me.
Yeah, I suppose we should probably say what we do. We're a bunch of gamers who talk to guests about what they're geeky about, and we try not to pull in politics, but Ken always does. Let's introduce ourselves, and then Claude, we're gonna have you go last, since you will always have the last word. Hey, Holker, who are you? Who are you, other than a patron?
My name is Daniel, and I am a participant in the game that we run on Monday nights. I am a Patreon.
One Patreon.
To DreadLore.
Yeah.
A patronista.
Yep. Great. Hey, Ken, who are you?
I am at least one part of Couchfire Media Productions, and I am an artist and a creator and a lover of being timely. I don't know. I'm confused on a lot of different levels because I think I'm trying to do too many things at the same time.
You're trying to do too many things at the same time.
And here we are. We're here.
Yep.
And I would love to hear from Claude.
Hey, Claude, who are you?
Me.
It's just this guy, you know.
Yeah,
I'm Claude Miles. I do a bunch of things with the visual and audio arts and things, and generally nerdy stuff that revolves around science fiction, which comes from probably a childhood. My father had a bookstore, a used bookstore, the comic books store when I was growing up, and I'm glad it wasn't a candy store because I would definitely be in some serious health conditions right now. But fortunately, it's just comic book stuff. So like, we had to do things like reinforce our floors in our library because of the weight of the comics. So, yeah. So, and I have been around games. I was, the very first game that was ever introduced was at the comic book store in like probably 79 or something. And it was Tunnels and Trolls.
Tunnels and Trolls.
Yeah, that's your
game?
No, it's a role-playing game.
Oh, it's TTRPG.
You could use it. You could do it tabletop. If you had miniatures. It was a D&D competitor at the beginning, I guess.
Tunnels and Trolls. Well,
I have some Tunnels and Trolls modules somewhere, but I didn't. I was just quickly grabbing what I could find of stuff to show, but I didn't find those particular ones. And, they're like just the flat books. I don't think there was a box with it. It's like a couple of flat books, and so they're in something in a magazine bag or whatever.
So nowadays, that's called OSR, right? Like old school revival stuff, and it's the games that are coming out that are attempting to kind of harken back to those old school games where, for example, in Tunnels and Trolls, how does the game justify you being in a tunnel?
Oh no, that's just you just go adventuring. It's just it's like how do you justify being
like
in a dungeon, or why would a dragon live in a dungeon or whatever? You know, it's
right.
just
Why
it's
would
just,
it? Right.
You know, it's just a come on, a dragon can get a nice mansion. They got a lot of gold. It's fine. You know,
Of course.
Big safe like in Scrooge. You know, they swim in it. Whatever.
So yeah, the OSR thing would be like, you know, I've seen a bunch of them where it'll be maybe 4 or 5 pages. That's the entire module.
Oh yeah.
And you just happen to be in hell, and you're trying to get out. Like that's just understood. Here are the monsters. Go. And like there's the story is kind of just your journey of doing it. It's not really why you're doing anything, right? Because that's all handled, and that's more like the OSR feel. At least the way that I've seen it. Tunnels and Trolls. What is it fun? What's the
Yeah, it was really fun. You know, like you know, it was the first time role playing, so it was the kind of thing where my dad just DM'd and ran me through it when I was, you know, a wee 6-year-old or something. You know, and it was fun. You know, and it was very much when I later played D&D. I was like, oh, I know how this works. This is the same thing. I think it's less dice, simpler mechanics. You know.
Do you know what kind of dice it was?
I think it was just 6-sided.
Yeah.
I could be wrong. You know, some other simple games like that were the Steve Jackson stuff that we would play, which is like one of my favorites there was Toon. It's just you make a cartoon character and it's D6s. And Chutzpah was one of the attributes for Toon, for your cartoon character. You gotta have Chutzpah. You gotta be able to convince somebody.
Tunnels and Trolls, TNT, apparently came out in 1975, and the latest edition came out in 2015.
Oh, well, I did not know that. Again, the OSR was even a new term. Thank you for sharing. You have to bring me in, little kids, bring me into the future, please.
That's why we do this podcast. It's so I can actually talk cool lingo about games because I don't know anything.
I know some OSR stuff. If you want to talk cyberpunk or paranoia.
Yeah, dude.
Yeah, that sounds like a plan.
Board. That's a good one.
I think we're hitting hard with some old school. I like that. So you brought some games to share.
Yeah.
With you. Let's talk about what you brought and maybe go one by one and tell us why this game is important to you.
Well, you know, there's some OSR games, and this, you know, like part of it was my dad's comic book store is like he didn't really carry games, so it was whatever anybody brought in to sell is the games that he would have for sale, except for like whatever publisher distributor that he had in the late 70s, early 80s or whatever, they had Tunnels and Trolls, so he had that. So you have all these like not quite D&D situations going on, but we were trying to play that. So the other one was this is Dungeon No Dragons. So we just got here's the box, you know, like the old school box style.
It's just called Dungeon.
Yeah, and it has inside of it like they're you know, it's more of a board game. Like there are spell cards and monster cards, and it just you could have your own miniatures if you wanted to upgrade, which I believe we used to do that. And you can even upgrade your board. It's a fairly simple rule book. I think it's about 8 pages, but the board is just a map. I'm going to kind of show you. It's just a dungeon.
Oh,
and
cool.
so you would spread out the big ass dungeon on the table.
And it's called Dungeon?
Yeah.
Oh,
just plain old dungeon. And it's a fairly, to be as old as it is, this map is actually, the material, it almost feels like laminated canvas. It's like, wow, this is good stuff. I hesitate to play with these things and get them out if I'm not actually going to play or something. But yeah, it's doing good. And then, you know, I've got like, so here's a 4th level monster card, right? So where if you landed somewhere, you might pull this and it would give you a fight a 4th level monster. And then like you would maybe have a wizard spell card here that you would, you know, receive to be able to use it, right? And this one is a fireball. So this wizard spell card, I'm gonna flip the monster around.
Gary Gygax's game? Is this like literally one of his games, or is this?
Hold on, I'll shut the box and flip it over, maybe. But so yeah, this is a mummy was the level 4 monster. The other side of it, it's a mummy, and it has the mummy stats that you have to beat. And then, of course, you know, it wouldn't be a game if you didn't have it's the prize card, the second level, and it is a sack of gold. Ooh.
Oh, fuck yeah. I want a sack
Win
of
a
gold.
sack of gold. And so let me see. Let's bust up the rule book here and see who is attributed. David R. Megary.
David R. Megary?
Yeah, and this says it's TSR 1975.
Yeah.
Oh, TSR. Okay, so TSR is the same guys that made Dungeons and Dragons.
Yeah. So it should be, you know, I don't know if it's around or if they reprint it or what, but it was fun. You know, it's like a young adult, maybe a younger version, or even old people who don't want to learn the rules or use math or pencils. You know, like you use this. Oh, yeah. I don't want to use a pencil. Okay, well, we can play the board game version of D&D, and it's a little less of imagination, just flipping cards as opposed to a DM. It's sort of, I guess it's a DM in a box kind of game. You know, you don't even need a DM. You could just sit and play it. Set it
It's
up.
like it's like what 4th edition tried to do. The unnameable D&D.
Yeah. Yeah, I think the last time I upgraded and we were still playing, when I was still playing, it would have been 2nd edition. They have binders for that, like the Monster Manual, just a big binder. Yeah, that's the last time.
So you didn't play AD&D, Advanced Dungeons and Dragons.
Yeah, I played AD&D,
first
edition AD&D, and 2nd edition AD&D.
Okay, right on. AD&D is so I started with 3rd edition. Or 3.5 actually, and then we went back because one of our other guests, a guy named Jeff McNeil, he ran a 2nd ed Ravenloft game.
Oh, okay.
Did you ever play Ravenloft? Yeah. And it was just brutal.
Like a paladin with the
you were a paladin in Ravenloft?
Yes, with an Unearthed Arcana Holy Avenger. So it was a good time.
Yeah, I bet. Well, we were starting at 1st level, so it wasn't a good time.
We built up to it. We took a whole party that I drug around everywhere just to build up to go to Ravenlofts, and including like hunting the item in the Unearthed Arcana that I wanted. This super paladin, the best sort of paladin could have against undead, you know, Holy Avenger.
Now, the DMs that I was underneath, they'd be like, "Oh yeah, you get this wild sword. It looks like a Conan sword." I'm like, "Sweet." They're like, it's a Holy Avenger. I'm like, oh, awesome. What does that do? And they're like, you're a rogue, so nothing. Like, fuck.
It allows you to find a paladin to sell it to. You can take it to the nearest war church and look for their biggest, burliest knight with sacks of gold.
Right. Take it to the war church. D&D had it right. What?
It's definitely strange that you know, you literally cannot use weapons outside of your class at all. I feel like
I don't know if that's entirely true. I know, like, if you're not,
I think you can if you're so if you're a rogue, I think a lot of times you would pick one of the smaller characters, smaller races, and I don't think they could hold whatever giant weapon that you get in the game. I think a rogue can use it, just not very well.
So it depends on the version, because certain versions you get bonuses, you get negatives, or you know, you just can't, or whatever. Because there's like 5.5, 6 versions of D&D right now.
I think back in the 2nd edition when they started putting out the little leather-bound looking gold-lettered books that were like all these classes or whatever.
Oh yeah.
At that point, I think you could assign like, I want my rogue to be able to handle a broadsword. You know, you could assign like specialty characteristics as a secondary trait, or like split class or whatever.
That's a Gestalt character.
Yeah, it got really expensive to buy all those little floppy books that were like $25 a piece or whatever.
Oh yeah, dude. Yeah, dude. So I made a game called DreadLore, hence the name of the channel. And one of the ideas for the core book was to not do that. But after we put out the core book, we were like, oh, we get why they do that. Why they split up. You know, the D&D core book is really 3 books. right? Like you could do monster manual, your players, and your D&G.
Yeah.
And if you put them all together, you kind of have the game. Apparently, I was reading on this Tunnels and Trolls. Apparently, the guy, Ken St. Andre, made it, quote, because I just wanted something I could play with my friends at a reasonable price with reasonable equipment. And he said the actual rules of D&D were too complicated and confusing. Which,
That's some shade to say like a reasonable price with some reasonable equipment. He's throwing some shade on dice dealers and printers everywhere.
It is, man, because you get this money-making thing, and it's like, fuck. Like, just give me a good game.
It's also a good nod to, what is it? That thing you like, the easy rules, simple rules, rules light.
Rules light. Fuck rules light.
Well, rules light, then you just play dungeon. You just drop the dragons, and here's TSR's very own rules light version. You can play it right here.
Right, it's made a long time ago.
Dungeon, yeah.
I just want to play Dragon today.
It's 49 years old. It's been around.
Yeah, that thing is a collectible, I would imagine, at this point.
So what else do you have in the goodie bag?
All right, so this next one, I just was always fascinated because of the board, but it's another box like that, like a bookshelf box game. And it's TSR by golly, but this has got to be a small print. It has to be, because I've never seen it anywhere else. And again, this came straight from my father's comic book store or whatever, as a gift for me. So it's the Awful Green Things from Outer Space. And
I have never seen that before.
Okay, and then here's the back, right? And so it's a slide out situation, right? And I'm gonna slide it out. I can show you the box underneath, and here it has the sort of a little background story of what's going on in the game or the ship or the race, right? On the outside of the box, because the part that I unwrapped, it has a Velcro, and then this is the ship.
Oh, that's cool as shit.
So it is laminate. It's a laminate box.
That is awesome. So the box itself is the board?
Yes. This unsnapped around, like, here's my cardboard book, the opening normal box, right? And it was all wrapped up in this thing here, like with the little.
When was that made?
I'm not seeing a date on the immediate outside of it. Let's get into the box and see.
Get into the box. Let's get into the
1979 is what the Wikipedia article I pulled up.
It says 1980 TSR games here with the little wizard, and also in the shot here. There he is. The little wizard there.
That's cool.
The 1968 film, The Green Slime.
Really? I did not know that. See, now I gotta go find that movie. That sounds just trash enough for me to like it.
It sounds exactly what you are about and we'll be talking about movies here in a little while, but we're gonna stick to board games for the moment.
I'm gonna write that down. The Green Slime, yeah.
Yeah, The Green Slime.
What year was it?
It looks like it's got those eye beasts. I think we all expected to see one of those eye beasts. And I know it's not called an eye beast, but whatever, those little
eye beast. You talking about Beholder?
Yeah, and I wanted to see one of them in the Dungeons and Dragons film that came out, and I don't remember seeing it.
I bet it'll be in the sequel because they went to the Underdark. Hey, by the way, spoilers. Okay. They went to the Underdark and did not show many of the creatures down there. And I think they did that so that in the second one, they can actually go into the Underdark and deal with like the Lich Queen and all that shit.
Are they really doing a second one? Is that?
They should. It was, from what I understand, it was incredibly successful.
Yeah. Well, they made a lot of money, that's for sure.
So we have here the rule book is, again, now it's a cartoon. It's just a comic on the outside. Jumping back in on this whole thing. I'm so sorry.
So the artwork.
No, please do. That shit's awesome.
The artwork's
really cool.
I believe the rules are all just on the back here, but it also has the badge for the ship. If you wanted to, print or cut out your own little badge for the.
So this is that called Zneuter?
Zneutar, Znutar. Zneutar.
So old school revival, old school Renaissance, OSR. I'm reading a little bit on it. Basically, the stuff that I've seen on like Drive-Thru RPG and whatnot, and specifically from my friend Jeff McNeil, he's the reason that I even got into this stuff. Talking about like Ron Edwards and their whole the Forge gang and a bunch of game system theory bullshit, blah. A lot of those games, it mimics that, like that really cool, like you open it up and you see the entire dungeon, and it gives you like scant rules, and then you just kind of go, and it's fantastic stuff. So, but are those games OSR? I would argue no, because it's not an old school revival. Those are the old school games, right?
Oh, sure, right, yeah, that's
right.
just
So new games, I think I don't know. I think it's stuff that resembles those games. So those are like the legit shit.
Okay, yeah, that's
real stuff.
Hey, they're OG. I don't know if that would be.
Yeah, the OS. OS.
Real OS. And what little I know is in the 70s, I think it wasn't until the 90s that they really started to like produce shit. So like that stuff has got to be real deal.
Well, if you're watching at home and you've got some shiny Benjamin Franklins that you want to turn into some kind of currency and make a deal, then get a hold of me.
Let's make a deal.
Yeah, no, I mean,
how do they?
No childhood memory is too expensive to buy, I promise you.
I couldn't tell you how much it costs. I mean, I'm not an expert at that stuff.
You know what you shouldn't do? Don't sell your fucking magic cards.
Yeah, don't sell your fucking magic cards. That's a real thing.
Actually, yeah, you should tap that Black Lotus to destroy target mortgage. That's what you should do.
I think you should rip it up into 1,000 pieces and then throw it over maybe. See how that works.
My favorite magic card or fake magic card is the damned cat. It knocks everything off the table, destroys everything.
Just play it before you lose.
I hate to say this, but it looks like the awful green things used. You can get it used on eBay for $30.
Yeah. See, I know what they're worth to me, and it's more than that kind of crap. I'm not,
Yeah, no, for sure.
Somebody's
$300.
As a child, like even I just playing it, I would just stare at the ship and like imagining the interior of a ship, like the architect of spaceships. You know, like
it's so cool. It's so cool. And that's the thing is like people are really buying that kind of shit. What were you saying, Ken?
Yeah. I was just gonna say there are more expensive ones. I mean, so you could probably get $80. But no, I'm with you. I mean, if it means something to you, keep it forever.
Yeah. I mean, like somebody's got like 10 grand. Let's talk. You know, it's yours. I'll sign it for you.
So the OSR apparently it's rulings, not rules. So they call things the referee. This is the whole, the first edition of D&D and the second, anything that Gary Gygax wrote. It's like, hey, look, the DM is God. Like these rules, like don't run to this rule book.
Yeah.
This is about the dungeon masters. What's up?
You're telling the story. You let them tell it.
Right. Player skill, not character abilities. So you don't have a spot check to let you know if there are hidden traps or levers or whatever. It's more like you as players are figuring out, using your own creativity as people to figure out a dungeon. And the role play is, Claude, you are playing the paladin, right? I'm playing the rogue, whatever. But you are yourself, like almost instructing that or piloting that character.
Sure.
And that's very different from what, like, for example, DreadLore is, where you're immersive, where I want to know when you talk, you are the paladin, right? It's pretty different. What do you prefer in those games? More immersive or more like over the shoulder type stuff?
Yeah, we were pretty immersive. I mean, we didn't. We still were pretty much at the table, and we didn't even really use a lot, if any, miniatures, because we just couldn't afford it. We're too busy just trying to spend long for together for modules. But I would like credit some of my early expression of like the form of acting that I liked would be is doing that. So yeah, I mean, we'd all sit around in character all the time. That's it was understood. And rather than do we wouldn't say I make a dice roll and check for traps. Like it'd be like I creep into the room carefully looking around the edges of the door sill and judging the light, letting my eyes adjust. You know, we were very specific. We're almost all like, we're so much in character, we were actually narrating our thoughts aloud. You know, that's that's cool. You can hear what's in the character's mind. You know.
That's cool. It's like a movie. It's like a story. Whereas a lot of games today, it's I don't know. Just incredible.
Walk in the room and check for traps.
Yeah, check for traps.
Well,
I'm gonna walk in this room because my guy, and everyone's eyes just glazes over. It's like we don't care. Just tell us what you fucking do.
And usually, like our DM, you know, when you'd say that, you know, I'm looking around like this way, you just hear dice roll behind the screen. He didn't say making a check for track. Just hear dice roll, and then he'd respond based on what he saw.
Right.
We actually played with the Middle Earth role playing games, attack and combat mechanics in first and second edition combo, and so that with that combat mechanics, you could call headshots or arm shots to just disarm somebody and very specific things. It made it more mathy, but it was the experience again because we were just saying things and he's rolling. Because I'll be like, I'm gonna try and cut this motherfucker's head off. You know, here we go.
And then he was rolling the whole thing.
Yes. Yeah.
Right. That's interesting too. Again, pulling it back to making the shameless plug of my fucking game. I think one of the cool things about DreadLore is that each player can you have so much control over your character, but one of the weaknesses, I think, is kind of what you just said. Sometimes it's fun. Did you ever watch Harmon Quest?
Yes, yeah.
Yeah, sometimes it's fun to just, as a player, you're freed from the mechanics, you just play the game. And you let the DM or the arbiter, the referee, whatever, they deal with the mechanics. What do you do? And that is freeing. It might be interesting to actually try a one-shot DreadLore game where we just do that. And I mean, see what
I shouldn't be misleading. There were occasions where the DM didn't have all our stats memorized and say, okay, what's your strength? What are you using again? You know, he asked questions sometime, you know, or what is your whatever, you know, the applicable attributes or whatever. But yeah, we mostly try and just get into it, you know, go in there every Sunday and be a team and
so what else do you have in the bag? The bag of goodness.
My favorite I've saved for last of these three that I've busted out, and I'm going to tell you a little bit about it before I show you. You know, it was a darker time. We were darker people back in the day, and I'm looking for the date before I even pull it up. I don't see it immediately on the outside of the box. This is from Blade, and it is sort of it's like a card game, kind of. I guess it is a card game. But it has its own cards. It doesn't use like a deck of cards. You know, it's a card game that is very fun. It's called Nuclear War.
Oh, I've heard of that.
Yeah. And so, you know, you deal out cards and you get so many population cards, you know, and you get so many missile cards, and you start out with population cards, right? And they're little, so you have one, like they're little cards. They look like this. They be like, this is 5 million people. Right here, it's 5 million people.
Oh my god.
I'm putting it upside down. That's 5 million.
So you know, people. Yeah,
millions, 10 million, you know.
10 million people.
This is sort of your resource, if you will, is your population. And then you deal out, you know, a certain number of shuffled cards that are just the Nuclear War card deck cards. And then in your hand, you got to put together, like, the appropriate missile with the appropriate megatonnage. So here I have, it's not a missile, it's the B-70 bomber. And if I had this in my hand, I would want to have a 50 megaton card to go with it to arm it.
That's the Tsar Bomba.
Yeah, and this kills, it says it destroys 10 million people. So the bomb kills 10 million of your populace, right? And so then there are other cards that you have as well. Like, so for smaller missiles that you get started, you have like, and there's the anti-missile card. So if you have one of those, it's handy in your deck, you can stop them,
nice.
Right?
You definitely want that.
But then like, here's an Atlas warhead. It can carry up to 20 megatons, you know?
Fancy.
And then another great thing about it is you can also, this is ridiculous. There are propaganda cards. This is just they also deal in it's propaganda. And this one is that the 10 million enemy denounce their form of government for yours. And so their population effects to you.
We need a couple of those.
So the goal is absolute nuclear annihilation, of course. And the rules all come with dice and a spinning board here. You got like and it's always terribly prone to being tampered with by the way you want to spin it, because it's just a piece of cardboard with a spinner on it, right? Like it is like you
Twister. Like twist your way into nuclear war.
Right.
Wow.
So, you roll dice to see what happens based on this nuclear war chart, where you play the cards, and you don't just automatically get what the cards say. So, let's say I play the B-70 with the 50 megatons. Well, I rolled two 6-sided dice, although it has rules where you could use two 10-sided if you prefer. And so I got a 4, which means that bomb shelters save 2 million people.
Ooh.
And that's the I just am now realizing that is the alternative to use instead of the spinner is dice. Use the spinner, 10-sided or 6-sided dice. I have played this game like for 50 years or something, or I guess it's been around for 50 years. Let's call it 40 years I've had this game, and I didn't realize you could play it with dice until I'm this day old. I just wanted the spinner. I scraped the spinner and ignored the text. So.
Well, the 70s, that I think it was all on our minds. They had Day After Tomorrow. They had all that fun stuff happening.
Well, the threat of mutually assured destruction has kind of put it all to the background. I think the only danger I would hope in our world today of nuclear war would be a rogue nation or terrorists or whatever. But I think there was a follow-up to this game that was like
several.
You guys you looked it up already. We got this. I'm trying to find a year. I'm working my way down.
There was nuclear escalation 1980.
Nuclear escalation. Yeah.
Proliferation 1992, nuclear war booster packs in 95, and then there was another bonus pack 1, a bonus pack 2 in 1999, and then weapons of mass destruction. Of course, you had to have that in 2004. I don't want
somewhere around the second bonus pack. They should have just called it the bomb.
Oh.
There's a Blade catalog in here for the company, and they have, I want you to know, a Tunnels and Trolls ad, like a full page Tunnels and Trolls. So it's the same company that produced that.
Yeah.
It being in my father's store. Apparently this was on the distributor list. And I remember these books, I wish I still had them. They had several of them. They're called Traps. And they were just books of elaborate traps, like mechanical drawings and everything, how to work it into your game. You could use them in any game mechanics, but they were just the most crafty, devious fucking things. They're just amazing traps.
Well, that's another thing when it comes to the headspace of a game like this. When you play a game like that, everyone's in the headspace of, oh, what's going to happen? And while there might be some people that get upset, that their character doesn't win or whatever, it's by and large people aren't thinking, oh, the referee is out to get me, or I just want to win and get this over with. Like, you're playing the game, like in fact you want to continue playing the game.
And I think it's about the experience. Ideally, like my family and their dotage or whatever, when they would also get together, they just play regular cards. I'm like, I don't do that. Play games. I basically backed out of it because I don't want to play gin rummy at 9,000 points for 4 days or something ridiculous with grandma. I'm not into that. So I appreciate the experience that the gaming brings. So I don't know. I like games where you're not trying to win. Like that's why role-playing games are so much fun. You're just trying. The winning is when you all do something together and have fun. That's
right.
If you go home and you're not mad, you had a good time. You won.
Right.
Sometimes if you're mad the right way, you won.
Really quick, you may have said before, but I did not hear it. What was the name of your dad's store?
It was called Books and Buttons. It was in the Bowling Green Mall. which is now like a subsidiary of Western. They've subsumed the Bowling Green Mall and made it like part of their, extended campus or whatever.
Is the mall still there?
Yeah, it's part of the Western Kentucky University's extended campus. The facility, it's still a mall, but it's offices and stuff in there, whatever.
Agriculture has taken over that area. It's funny that you're from like Bowling Green, and then I also my family's from Bowling Green as well. So small world.
Oh
yeah. Yeah. My grandfather actually. This is my moment where I get to brag about my grandfather, but he made Bowling Green, the city, wet. He was in alcohol sales, and so it's because of him that.
Oh, hail King's grandfather! Thank you, sir.
He had that liquor store with the cool sign on the bypass. That was one of his. Yeah, I think he had 5 stores at one point in time. He did well.
Do you remember what it was called?
It was the liquor store.
Yeah, was it Travelstead or Vet City?
No, it was Big Al's Liquor. And it was the one. There was one on the bypass in Fairview. That with the sign, the neon sign, like you couldn't miss it. By the old Kmart,
Okay. Right on, Big Al. Here, I'm making one for Big Al right now with the old.
Yeah, right. Get some Ancient Aliens.
That's the good stuff.
I might have to get you to do one of those Ancient Aliens for maybe.
Oh, hold on, I have one. Hold on a second. I've got one for you. Pull the magic cork out.
Oh, nice.
This one's not quite as clever for that, but yeah, it's Evil Williams.
Oh yeah, there you go. That's good. That wins. That's winning the day. Good job, sir.
I hit it better, but it's really dusty.
Yeah, that's fantastic. I've done a couple of labels for bourbon myself.
This is Vader's Mark.
Oh, that's wonderful. That is really wonderful.
Hey, what's up? Soupy Jones is on the chat.
Nice.
She says, "Cheers, GGP."
I was wondering if anybody would join the chat today. I mean, we started late.
Late AF.
Late.
Yeah, boy.
Yeah.
My the YouTube is time delayed, so I have a giant screen to my left that I'm on, but right now I'm missing it, and now I'm back with Vader's Mark.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's a good 10-20 seconds, I think, behind.
Yeah. It is a long delay. I think we should change up. So apparently, Claude is also an actor, writer, director, producer. We discussed that you were born in Bowling Green as well. You studied philosophy, criminology, and theater. How much has that criminology helped you with?
Well, I mean,
exploits. I mean, 'cause a lot of people study film, and I was just wondering if like any of that stuff, like I watched a number of your films as well, and I didn't really catch a whole lot of criminology. Maybe certainly exploitation a little bit, but
no, I don't think that I've really used any of that. If maybe only peripherally in characters. Like I would tell you a really great anecdote and say it was criminology, but it's not. It's like it was magic. My father used to take me to like a magicians meetup group with the back in the day in Bowling Green. There was a magician in the 70s called Wandy the Great, Wandy the Magician or whatever. And so Wandy had everybody over to his house, and back in when I was about like 6 or 7 years old, a cop taught me how to get out of handcuffs. So this is a criminology sort of side tangent. So I had to pick handcuffs, right? This cop that came to the group. So on the set of Sharks of the Corn, they put real handcuffs on Steve Gwynn, one of the other actors, for a scene, and they could not find the keys. And they're like, "What do we do? What do we do?" I was like, "Somebody got a paper clip? Bring him over here." Right. And so that's the closest to using any kind of criminological skills, but I didn't learn that at college. Not even in my deviant behavior class.
Yeah. So I know that Western. You went to Western for?
Yeah.
I presume.
Yes, I have.
They've got a pretty advanced forensics. Am I like talking?
They have a pretty good criminology department as far as like they're produce a lot of great minds.
So yeah, that's.
Well, Western, I know that Louisville right now is getting quite a bit of film stuff, and the sort of game is changing, which I think both of you can talk actually much more on than I can. But when I was living in Kentucky, several of the jobs that I got were out of Western. So it seems like their film department is actually, kind of active, as opposed to like University of Kentucky's, which I don't even know if they have one.
They do.
So
I met two professors at UK that are working film.
Okay.
There's a film. I went to Western 25 years ago and went to film school there, and that was great. So,
what were you saying?
When in 2009 I started Kentucky's first Screen Actors Guild New Media Signatory Company, because the New Media Union rules for SAG-AFTRA, which was just SAG then, were pretty lenient. It was a new thing, and they hadn't figured out what to do with new media. And I saw this as an opportunity to go ahead and produce it at a higher level of content just by virtue of using union rules and doing all the stuff. So when I did that, I partnered with my alma mater, with Western, with their theater department that I had, done a lot of time in. I didn't actually end up with a theater minor as my stagecraft teacher, but we won't go into that. But anyway, I call it an emphasis in theater. I took a lot and did a lot of theater stuff and video things. But so we took the most talented seniors from their acting for the camera class each year, which was basically a senior level theater class, like a 300 or 400 or whatever. And they would audition for catnippery for my production. And then we would put them into, like, I have a show, The Mysteries of Science, I had sent Ken links to. Well, I think one of those episodes, the one about plants, or maybe it's food or cooking. I think there's one that uses three.
Regeneration, gasoline.
No, I think it's cooking.
It's food.
Yeah, it's cooking because it's food. It's a food thing.
Yeah.
Travels, leap, optics, addiction, lasers, snow, dreams, time, advertising, dating, the plant kingdom. Is that it? Cooking. Okay, I see cooking.
So that's one of them. But so for about 4 years, I would partner with. We did a public-private match scholarship for those students to come to Lexington and be in one of the shorts, and then they would become SAG union eligible. They call SAG-E. And so they could move to, and it was designed for people who were going to move to New York or LA as soon as they graduated to go and keep acting. And so in that way, I was helping to feed a pretty good department. I made, between that and the productions and the other people we brought in, we probably made hundreds of people union eligible, well, at least a couple hundred people. And I've had some friends that recently have just joined out, they've been eligible for 15 years and are like, oh, well, I got a thing. So I think there are a lot more opportunities coming to Kentucky as well. The film meetup we went to last night was a great, huge turnout. Like more people than I wanted to be around.
So did you film this on Western's campus? It looked like some of the stuff from Western's campus.
No, it's all.
It was from.
Yeah, all the Mysteries of Science is here at my house. Mostly it's green screen. The lab, if it's on the green screen, in the background there's like a lab background. There's always that. And sometimes I'm the scientist running back and forth in the background, running my hands through the hair, and it just repeats. It's a background that we just loop.
I see that.
It's like a documentary now-esque, but raunchier. I watched one on sex that I thought was really good. Where they had the science of sex, and there was some really funny. I think it's one of these.
Dating is the sex one. Yeah,
dating.
That background of the lab is actually shot at UK in one of their labs. Mm-hmm. One of my friends works there, and I went in, was like, "Hey, can I just shoot the background real quick and run through it back and forth?"
So what did you shoot it with? Is it looks
depending on which one, like some of them are on some of them are on a DSLR, like the Old Man Bill's Space Rock episode 1 is like a DSLR that was available, and that's actually shot in LA. And then I think Cooking is on a Panasonic HVX 200.
Yeah, I mean, I'm a big proponent of, and I can tell by watching some of your films, you shoot with, it's not about the camera really. It's about what you put in front of the camera and
Sure.
direct them, and it's the story. Definitely, there's a lot of trauma vibe in there.
Sure. Yeah. I mean, for me, I make what I can afford to make. Like, in fact, it killed me the other day. We just last year I did a film called None Dead, and I used the Panasonic HVX, and so it's a compilation movie that Donald Farmer put out, and I have one short that fits in at the very end of the Blu-ray that was released. It's at Walmart.com. None Dead. All right, so and you have to wait for like 5 sets of credits before you get to my short. But that's pretty much the last thing I shot on the Panasonic. Maybe a music video or something.
I mean, I thought None Dead was a sexy piece. It reminded me a little bit of Desperate Living or Living Desperately by John Waters.
Yeah, that's high compliments is the Waters. Yeah. So then the Alien Exorcist, when we get to shoot it, I was like, one of my friends had been shooting with some. I won't mention what it is yet. It's a particular piece of gear, and he had showed it to me. And I was like, "Are you fucking kidding me? That looks that fucking good. God damn it." I was like, so yeah, it's an iPhone like that for Alien Exorcist. Yeah. It's just the latest whatever fancy ass iPhone. He bought it to use as a camera, and like with Mysteries of Science, which is primarily the Panasonic HVX. I shit all over the frame anyway when I'm doing. I want it to look like old videotape, like it's been ran through film to video like too many times in the VCR. It needs to look like garbage.
Yeah. I enjoyed that very much about the Mysteries of Science. I thought that was really well kind of done, like those old movies that we saw in the early 80s.
Yeah, it's the educational film format or whatever is the film shoot.
It's got the graphic vibe, that little, and then it's all really gritty, film shakes, a little sped up on some of.
So the Alien Exorcist with the iPhone looks too pretty, so then I bought a smoke machine and then shit all over the frame that way.
Sure. And that was wonderful too, because you were smoking, and then somebody was smoking, and then it was smoking, and then I kind of went down a rabbit hole of like clearly how to get actors who don't smoke, because that's get them cigarettes and stuff like that, but
that actor in Alien Exorcist, he does not smoke at all, and that was a character choice he made. And that actor, he doesn't smoke, and as a character choice, he went out and bought a pack of cigarettes to be that priest. He's like,
were they fake cigarettes, or he bought real cigarettes for that?
Yes, he went and bought a pack of the same thing I smoked, because I was boning off of it.
American Spirits. Is he still smoking? Is that, I mean,
did
he get addicted at all? And that's where I saw the Ancient Age bottle. Ancient Alien.
He just made a mess. He used some of my old cigarette packs, and he bought a pack, and he was just lighting them and smoking them. He doesn't smoke at all. He smoked for the shots. That's all.
Yeah, that's interesting. And where does this come from? Where were you?
Oh, the short. Where did the idea come from, or anything?
Yeah.
Well, so Donald Farmer usually with these compilations, he just gives you the most direction I got input for writing. Do whatever I want with is just Alien Exorcist. That's it. That's what it's called. Just do something with that. So I was trying to think. You try to think of what everybody else will do. Like it'll be a bunch of nuns doing exorcisms, or I don't know. So my big bit was I'm gonna make it an alien who is an exorcist.
Mm-hmm.
And shows up in a town possessed by demons and goes around eating the demons and then inadvertently taking part of the people's souls, because he leaves behind this sort of soulless bunch of idiots that don't know what's going on. And this poor priest has to see the whole thing and loses his fucking mind about it, and then he quits the clergy. And it's sort of the story is it's not clear. It's either the church or the news media, local journalism. Somebody has cornered him to get his story out of him, and that's how the short starts. And then he starts telling the story, and then it's through flashbacks we see some of the exorcisms and the people possessed, and their thoughts, their ideations, and it's very
Is it a theme of like the South? I mean, it seems like there's some. I'm gonna say Southploitation. I don't know. It just seems like there, or is that just because you're in Kentucky and you have access to actors that can go into that? I don't want to.
yeah, it's definitely real accents.
It's funny. It's funny. It really is funny, and being from here, I mean, these guys pull it off. So
Yeah, there's some bit where it's like he lost his eye.
it's really good. Because you get that kind of humor, that Kentucky humor, and like you don't get that in Hollywood. You don't like.
What's it called again?
It's called Alien Exorcist, but it's not publicly released. I did send the link to Ken. It'll be out on Walmart.com. I keep having to say because they're the largest distributor of physical media, I think, in the U.S. now. Anyway, it'll be there next year.
Yeah.
Okay.
I shared a couple of clips. I tried not to because I noticed it was unlisted. So.
Yeah.
And the other one was Mysteries of Science. Is that released?
Yeah, that's up. You can see the Mysteries of Science. I believe. Is that correct?
Yeah. Just the Mysteries of Science. It should come up. It should be a billion episodes. I'm exaggerating quite a bit, but
yeah, there's 21.
Is it on YouTube or what is it?
21 episodes. I sent you a link on the Discord.
I'm just posting it in the old thing.
Oh, you're giving it some
stank.
Doing some
press on that stuff. Yeah, Mysteries of Science is really fun. It was like it's a combination of inspirations. You know, I'm always big in Douglas Adams style of writing.
Yeah.
That's my go-tos. Like I think that's absolutely the best you can get is Douglas Adams. That form of humor, this is something we try to embody. The first web series we actually made when we became a SAG company was called Breakfast Impossible, which was it's an Alice in Wonderland reference via Douglas Adams because it's Millie Ways. If you've done 6 impossible things this morning, why not top it off with Breakfast at Millie Ways, the restaurant at the end of the universe? So we were saying Breakfast Impossible, and that's a fun little sci-fi thing. I didn't see that because it's just older, and I thought Ken, you might have even been aware of that before. Oh, that's the first one we produced that way. We didn't do every episode. I think it's episodes like 3, and the rest of them are. But
I thought it was somewhat. For some reason, my brain went to Breakfast of Champions, which was the Kurt Vonnegut. But Dinner at the End of the Universe. Sure, yeah. Why not have Breakfast at Millie Ways? That's a wonderful. I'm a huge Douglas Adams fan.
This is the opening of Mysteries of Science. Is why did the dinosaurs build the pyramids? What color is gravity? Yeah. Will there be time in the future? The questions are many when you explore the Mysteries of Science. But I like to just say, it's taken as fact that they did. So why did the dinosaurs build the pyramids? They're I'm just demanding to know why they did it. Because they definitely did.
More watchable than the documentary now stuff that they were trying to do.
Some of that stuff is fun. I think you got to watch the bit. It can't be too long. You got this short format on this kind of thing. You don't want your bit to be too long. And I was always shooting with Mysteries of Science and Breakfast Impossible for what I would call the Adult Swim sized bites. The top it out at 12 minutes. That's the longest you want something to be. At the most, you mostly want 5 minutes.
Yeah, these are. It looks like they're between like 2 and 6 minutes. For the most part, or 3 and 6 minutes.
There's a couple. There might be one 9-minute one that just has an extended drunken fucking all around. Like the one on time. We got this bar and we refer to ourselves for the day, and they let us do whatever we want. Basically, the bartender came in and we just paid her and paid for the booze and then we just had a big time. And so it's just this. The whole bit is like we're trying to determine if time is perceived, by you or just because the first is just one scientist and she's just sitting taking shots and then she passes out. And then, so the clock doesn't change. Everything's normal or whatever. It's just but we got to try it with everybody. So then it's a whole bar full of scientists just getting trashed and falling all over each other and exchanging clothes and putting makeup on and making out in 3-way piles. It's a mess. But that scene just drags on. I was like, okay, like we can let this go. We'll let them we'll put this whole thing in there.
I'm definitely impressed with you've got costumes, you've got a lot like who does your costume work? Because there really are a lot of props, a lot of costumes.
Well, you just live long enough and you hoard things, I guess, is part of it. Like I'm here in my studio now. I'm gonna see if you can just pan to my left. Behind those curtains, there's a entire like closet costume rack in the ceiling right there. It's like a, I don't know if I can point. That's like in the rafters. There's a bar, and this is like clothes hanging right here. Like, let's see if I can reach to pull this thing back. Like, there's a whole, like that's a giant costume closet there.
Nice.
Just in the studio. But for Mysteries of Science, it's primarily lab coats.
Yeah.
And so my buddy who works at the science labs at UK or whatever, they throw them out if they get used or somebody quits and they got their bunch of monogrammed lab coats. So I end up with them. I got little Mysteries of Science patches, put it right over a name that's embroidered into a lab coat. And then, a lot of friends work in makeup and stuff, and we'll either want to try something or need to do some kind of effect and want to test it or whatever, and so we'll figure out like what to put into it, and a lot of volunteer work. Because there's one in the plant kingdom, because like you got the animal kingdom and the plant kingdom. Well, everybody wants to know who's the ruler of the plant kingdom, right? Well, it's Cthulhu, and so we had to have a Cthulhu creature. And so it's like a whole makeup job done by my friend Scott Tiemann.
So I take it you're a fan of Lovecraft?
Oh yeah, yes, definitely. Well, I mean, I try not to focus on his sometimes racist language. And
Absolutely.
At the times, he's a colonialist. I'm just gonna read past the name of his cat. During the pandemic, I bought like the complete fiction works of Lovecraft because all of the little paperbacks I have like 4 short stories. 2 of them are in this other paperback I have. So I'm like, I don't know what I have read. So I was like, there was a 1 volume of everything. And I was like, this will clear the shelves too. And I'm gonna get this son of a bitch. So I got the big hardback and read it cover to cover, and I love it. I do like that kind of that whole ethos. There's a new animated DC film called When Doom Came to Gotham. That if you are familiar with the complete works of Lovecraft, it's like a whole new retelling of the Bruce Wayne / Batman story in that world that almost follows his career of writing, storyline wise, that mixes a bunch of the stories together, inserting Batman villains and origins and things. And it's kind of fun. But yeah, I love the Cthulhu, the plant kingdom ruler. It's one of the funniest damn things to me because, it's a silly pun to say that the plant kingdom is an actual kingdom with a ruler and.
No, sure. Like
jokes. That's where we go. Is hit him on.
Definitely heavy in the puns.
It is there's a fantasy author whose name is H. David Blaylock, and I met him at Imaginarium and we had talked, and I worked with him on a film that was like part of a chapter of a book for called Swordbearer. And anyway, he really liked the Mysteries of Science ideas and everything, and he thought it was really funny, and so he volunteer wrote several of the episodes. So if you watch for him, he would just send me a script. He's like, "Can you make this one?" I'm like, "Keep it cheap. Keep it where I can make it. You can't be like 9,000 people storm down the street naked and set a house on fire. I can't do that. It has to be something I can make."
A scientist or 2, and they are
in front of my green screen. I can take them anywhere. They'll just tell me.
I mean, you
run a little
could do
stock
it.
footage. Yeah.
Yeah. So those are cool that he actually, sent me these beautiful scripts, and we shot several of them. I think 3 or 4, at least, maybe more. I can't even recall how many, but it was just so great. He said, we've always talked about firing it back up and making more. And he said, anytime, just tell me.
Yeah. And so, where do you just find your actors? Are they friends? Do you have like a list that you go through? Do you cast?
Yeah, it's usually just availability kind of situation. When we were doing Mysteries of Science under the old Sagna Media contracts, where people had to be union eligible, then that could really, like, once they were in it once, I made them union eligible. They were technically must join. So I would usually, if I had somebody in multiple episodes, try and film them all in the same block. We just film all of the episodes in a big block, and then don't have to worry about that until the next season if I want to bring them back. And then they don't want to join the union, then it becomes kind of an issue. Now the new media rules are different. So I don't know that I would even shoot it union anymore, because I don't know if I could afford to. That's one reason I haven't done any new media productions in a while. Like the Alien Exorcist stuff is all just indie run and gun. I'm not filling out forms or timesheets and stuff like a union production. Is quite a bit more. Like I would have to be like to my wife, honey, we need you to make sure there's backup printer ink. I'm making another SAG short.
Sure. I think you have to have what $7,000-$8,000 minimum budget to make.
I don't know the new contracts. I think the last one I did was in 2017, called Square Brains, and I haven't shot since then. And all of it's changed now too, with residuals available and everything is as it should.
And you got to have like COVID experts on there. You got to have like I was gonna shoot one of my last shorts, SAG, micro budget. And it was too difficult navigating the paperwork. I
mean, lately I've heard of productions doubling up where they're like, we need someone to do crafty who can also be a set medic. And then they would also apply COVID tests. So I don't know what kind of licensing you have to have for a set medic, but it'd be that kind of job. But then, the crafty thing would just mean we're going to give them a budget and they're going to go shop at Costco and for bananas and, snack bars and chips or whatever. But so you can double up. Yeah, I mean, you have in the micro budget, if you want to shoot union, it's double up. But if you ever need a set medic or something like that, we probably know people who would even potentially be credentialed and do it volunteer style too. Like that's where I have been most successful. And although again, I haven't made since the rules have all changed since 2017, is with just like I'm not paying myself. It's deferred ham sandwich performer contracts. It doesn't actually say ham sandwich, but it says this has got to make a hell of a lot of money before anybody sees anything. Basically,
have you ever made any money off a short film? I mean, there are two ways. Like you get paid to make the short film. I get that, or there's a budget. But have you actually, if you don't mind me asking, like hard there. I don't think that, because usually any money that they would give me a budget. I could start out saying, okay, I'm going to pay myself $500, or I'm going to pay myself $1,000 of this budget, and then I just spend it on the project. So like, all right, for example, like I've had the production company for 14 years, and we pay taxes and all that kind of stuff, and do loop to loop with all the governmental bodies to make sure that we can exist in an appropriate manner. And so I happen to know, how much money that I've lost, and so after a certain amount of time, the accountants are like, now, if you keep losing money, this is just a hobby. And I'm like, fuck you, it is. Uber never turned a profit for their first 16 years. Don't tell me that was a hobby. So anyway, this year, or 2023, was the first time in the 14 year or 13 years, however long it is from 2009 to 2023, was the first time that it's music, it's video, it's all the whole business is the first time that it ever turned a profit, like above what I spent ever. Yay! Look at that, fireworks. Yes, and it was about $50. I came up about $50. Oh my goodness. Yeah, that's tough. I wanted
better
to
hold some of that back for taxes.
I want to default to Bill for some questions. I know he's got an audition here in a minute.
Oh yeah, well, we don't want to keep you for sure. You get them jobs.
Yeah, you better get jobs.
Yeah.
Yeah. So how do you start a project?
Well, in the instance of like Nundead and Alien Exorcist, it was prompted from the outside. Donald Farmer would announce, "Say, I'm looking for directors to make shorts for my new thing. Contact me." And I would be like, "I happen to have a wild hair up my ass. I like the sound of that. Nundead, you say? I'll do that." But then sometimes it's just ridiculous things like a prop or something will turn up, or somebody will be like, "Hey, I thought you might like these flak jackets or whatever for your costume closet." Yeah, and then it's like, And the next thing you know, we're making
How can I use that?
Yeah, we're making something with that in it. At one point, I don't know if you remember the Fisher Price toys, the little people. They're like that little wooden, almost with a plastic head. They're a little dog, little blonde, little redhead, little
No.
They would sit in like and the toys would just have a circular hole. They were like, and they would just sit in these.
Oh
these
no, I know exactly. Yeah, I know exactly what you're talking about.
So
They'd be like driving tractors and shit.
Yeah. So my parents moved to a farm, in the early 2000s. They moved away from the house I grew up with. And so in the attic, I'd had all these old ass toys, right? And I had kind of built up my toys as a child because my parents would yard sale. So I would get 10 cents. I'd buy like a box of those things, right? So I get all these filthy old toys, and there's a shit ton of these little people toys. So I start cleaning them and wash them all off and get them all cleaned up and then sort them. It's like I have a bag full of bulldogs, a bag full of blondes, a bag full of redheads. They look like drugs at this point. And so I'm like, okay, that's it. So I did this time travel short. It's called Temporarily Yours. It's on YouTube. And basically, they're drugs that take you back in time into your own body. Back in time. Or forward, depending on what you take, right? And so, the story of the plot is a girl goes to the drug dealer and tries it out. It takes her they're like, here, try this. It'll take you, 8 hours, and but you're just gonna be asleep. And so it shows her, and she wakes up, and she's like, and then back. But then the whole bit is she takes one that takes her 5 days from now when she takes it to Halloween. And so then we filmed it for Halloween. But that whole thing was spun out of these little bags of toys. I'm like, what the hell do I do with all this shit? I'm like, before I get rid of it, I guess I'm going to make a short film because it looks like drugs.
No, I dig that. I dig that idea.
So we made a time travel drug. It comes out, my other big, novelist that I love is Philip K. Dick, the science fiction.
Yeah.
But the book will now wait for last year. That has a time travel drug. It's a different premise the way it works there. It's more a mind bending situation, but I had fun. We enjoyed making the little thing in it, and eventually, spoiler alert, she finds when she takes the drugs because she gets hooked, and every time we got a little makeup, she's looking more and more like gaunt, and then begging for more drugs and taking them, and then we go to the future, and eventually. Her other self has left a note for her, so she reads this other note. It's like, don't do this anymore, and she's like, and ends up doing it one more time. And so then we did this effect shot where we have her strangling herself, meeting and strangling herself.
Oh shit!
Yeah.
Oh shit!
Yeah, spoilers.
So someone has just messaged me, a board gamer. Yeah.
Hey, that's right.
I wonder if it's obvious it's a joke. Hopefully. So
it's just because all my stuff's so old, man. I've been playing it for 40 years. I'm bored with it. I'm just kidding. I'm not bored with nuclear war. Let's never happen.
How do you get bored with nuclear war?
How does one get bored with?
Well, when it's over.
Script to production, having a plan. So you got a script or something, an idea. You have a few people that you want to produce it with or do it with. And then, you kind of have your equipment and the different bits and pieces. But how do you go from what's on a page and a group of people that are doing something to actually getting out there in the shit and doing it? Because there's a lot of conversations that kind of get in the way, like, how are we going to shoot this? Who's going to edit it? But just the production itself.
All right, so it all is really organic usually. I'll give you this great example. So I did send a link to the film The Horror to Ken, and what happened was one of my friends was a makeup guy, and he's like, "Hey man, I've made my own blood cannon, my own throat slit effect, and my own something else." And he's like, "And I want to use them in something." And I'm like, "Okay, no problem." So I get a whiteboard out, wipe the whole thing down, and put a grid on it: Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, and then I have times. And then I just send a message to people on Facebook that I know that do anything and just check availability. Hell, I think I actually posted in public posts, like, who wants to do a horror movie? These, and give me your availability and send me. And so they sent it. And one person was available every day. So there was my killer. All right. She's going to kill every week, right? And so then I start scheduling people to show up and kill. And it's like, well, okay, such can come here. And as it began to go, it developed its own plot organically. It was like, because I'm there too, I can be there. And I'm like, well, I can do it. I can edit it. I can run the camera, and I'll just turn it on and walk in front of it. And I'll be the husband of this lady who's this crazy lady. And so, and we ended up throwing Bigfoot in there. There's.
Speaking of Bigfoot, how did you do Bigfoot? How did you do a Sasquatch?
Well, my friend Tim Ritter, who's a wonderful director, I've been in several of his films, and he made the original Truth or Dare back in the 80s. It was like a shot on video, and every video store everywhere had it.
That was Madonna, wasn't it?
Elijah Wood talks about how much he loves Truth or Dare, but yeah, so Tim Ritter, and I'm in Truth or Dare 4, I think. Yeah, I think it's Truth or Dare 4. So I got to be in one of them, but I love working with people like Tim and Donald, who are like old school, like they've been doing this since the 80s, and they're still doing shot on video. And now I'm gonna forget why I'm telling you about Tim Ritter. He loaned me I think if it was belonged to the production company's Sasquatch suit. They just had one. It's the same one that the horror is in Sharks of the Corn. They use it again in Sharks of the Corn, which is on Tubi and Amazon and everywhere. That's from 2020 or 21, I think, is when it came out. But so he let me borrow it, and then he was very upset with the way we did Bigfoot. He was very, very mad, like genuinely upset with me. And I was like, "Oh, I'm really sorry. I didn't know." He's like, "Bigfoot doesn't talk. Bigfoot does not talk. Like, give me the suit back. Bigfoot doesn't talk."
Oh my!
Oh wow! Yeah.
I mean, we're dear friends, and he may have been pulling my leg, but it was the funniest goddamn thing because he was like, he just should not talk. Because we have Bigfoot opens a door and says some lines in somebody's face. You know, he's like,
Well, see, I've got a whole short that I'm trying to do where Bigfoot talks the whole freaking time.
Yeah.
So.
Where Bigfoot just talks the whole
guess,
time.
Yeah, it's a funny short. It's weird.
So
Go.
I read a study very recently about how Bigfoot sightings are strongly correlated with black bears, their range, and their population.
Yeah.
So in other words,
it's shocking. I think the Bigfoots are probably hunting the black bears to live. That's a species they could predate.
Yeah. I mean, there's no tigers here, so of course.
Yeah, Bigfoot's has
Yeah,
one.
it is odd that how that I love that they used to show you a map of all the Bigfoot sightings, and they show you all the black bear populations, and they're like, oh, makes you really wonder about that, I have a friend, Sven Granlund, does makeup effects, and he and I like to watch really bad horror movies, and one of the things, and Bigfoot ones in particular, and one of the things about a Bigfoot movie is, forget the budget. Here's the sort of the whole thing. The more you see the monster, the worse the movie is, right?
Oh,
Right.
If you just barely see that thing and the tension's up, the movie is just better, right? But if you show your mask or your shitty costume and you see it too much, it's garbage, right?
Yeah, Aliens, and in the original Alien movie, the alien got 73 seconds of screen time.
Yeah, exactly. It's terrifying. As a child, that was one of the most terrifying movies. That's one of the first movies I ever saw. And I was like, oh my God, I was just cuddling with my cat, shivering, but yeah. So with the whole, I'm gonna lose it. The whole idea of making a film with Bigfoot, and how good it is how little you see Bigfoot. I'm in one called Bigfoot Exorcist. And I believe it's about to be released. And I want you to know, and again, keep in mind my scale of how good a Bigfoot movie is. And this one more leans hard into this, though. But yeah, the Bigfoot in our movie is in the opening credits in still photos of the mask. Like, there are still photos of our monster in the opening credits. So again, the more you see the Bigfoot, the lower the quality of ours is really fun and ridiculous and over the top. And so it is and I'm just an actor in it. I didn't write it or anything. I just loved doing it. And I'm proud of how crazy it is, how wonderful. It's Donald Farmer film. And I do believe it's coming out this year sometime. IMDb says it's out. I'm like, well, where can I watch it? Because
Right.
Yeah, I'd like to see it. I believe it is actually getting a Blu-ray or a DVD or whatever release, but
Nice.
Bigfoot Exorcist, the monster is in the opening credits and still photos.
So you are a SAG after you are a SAG
after actor.
Yes, sir.
And you own a company that also does SAG films.
It's a new media signatory, yeah. To the old contract. I don't know that I'm anything now. I was the first company in Kentucky to do a new media signatory with the union, yeah.
So I'm an actor, and one of the sort of holy grails, whether it is or not, for an actor is to become SAG. A lot of the agents kind of won't deal with you unless you are at least SAG eligible.
You want these little cards? Yeah.
So
I used to
I went to
see one
the
once.
I went to the SAG-AFTRA site, and they were like, you know, getting the, what are they called? They're not markers. They're little tickets that you get. Vouchers. The SAG-AFTRA site says that the vouchers don't matter. They're like, you don't need those at all. You just need to fulfill one or two of these requirements. You know, like have speaking role, blah blah blah, work so many days, or be a lead, and boom, you're eligible. So what's your advice when it comes to, you know, it's the weed out game. Like, becoming SAG eligible, being a SAG actor does not mean you're a good actor. It also doesn't mean you get jobs, right? But what it does mean is
you don't get jobs sometimes, you know?
Right. You exactly. So how does one get an agent? How does one get SAG eligible, etc.?
Well, with the new media rules, the way they were from 2009 to 17 or so, and they modified them in the middle, but I was still able to navigate them then. At that point, you wrote you write a production and then you hire at least one SAG-AFTRA actor who's already there, and then you Taft-Hartley yourself or anyone else that is going to speak. You give yourself a speaking role or speaking roles, and then you Taft-Hartley yourself and you mail the stuff in, and then you're SAG eligible.
What is
That's
Taft-Hartley?
What we did for students is we brought them and we would file Taft-Hartley paperwork on them.
What is Taft-Hartley paperwork?
That's what they're going to file on set if you have a speaking role. It's it comes from the Taft-Hartley Act, which was like a union fairness law. You have to get into history. You give it on the old Wikipedia. I won't read it to death, but it's just called a Taft-Hartley report. You have to file a Taft-Hartley report, and it's like it goes with your performer contract for the speaking role you have, which you'll also attach a headshot to, and you file that stuff with SAG. Actually, the production will do it for you. And then depending on what kind of production it is, like at larger films and stuff, they actually have to pay a fine to file a Taft-Hartley report on someone. So they are more likely going to cast someone who is already SAG than to this guy's just perfect. I don't care if he just walked out of the swamp. They're just. Right. They're going to be like, no, we don't have that other $250 or whatever they charge them. I don't know. So it's more difficult now. The thing I encourage people to just go make something. And then it backfired on me too, because then I couldn't do a lot of indie work. And so I just had to make a bunch of SAG productions so I could be in them.
Right. Right.
Because you don't want to sit idle, no matter whatever your tool is, whether you're a carpenter or an actor, you want to use it all the time, as much as you can.
Right.
But you still got to pay a fee every year to keep it going.
Yes. So like if you're an active, it costs about, and it's also there. It's regionally priced. So if you join in Kentucky, the union for Kentucky, my local is actually Nashville, because the union Kentucky engulfs Kentucky and Tennessee is my local, is all one thing, and the only office is in Nashville. And there's not actually anywhere in the state of Kentucky, there's not actually a union franchised agency for you to even join.
Right to work.
It still represents you, but they aren't union franchised. A union franchise agency has to be within 100 miles of a local. So they would have to be in Bowling Green, or maybe even where. I don't know if Owensboro is too far away from Nashville, but it has to be within 100 miles of Nashville. So I was represented with to answer the rest of your question here, as far as like how do you get an agent or whatever. Then once I was union and had been doing a little bit of work on my own, I went to Heyman Talent and just headshots and started smooth talking them and telling them what I was doing and about my company and my partnership with Western, and that I was union and blah, blah, blah. And I just got off this film. And I think at the time my head was shaved. I just worked the movie Olympus Has Fallen. And I walked in and did all my business, and they put me on their roster. The work I got from them primarily though was like union background in big commercials. Like
right.
I did McDonald's, did a bunch of different things that were all regional stuff. Like the Papa John's was a UK and U of L themed thing, so it was very regional. So it didn't pay very residuals or anything like that. And then the McDonald's one was in like whatever the Buckeyes stadium is, in like whatever college's Buckeyes in Ohio. It was there, and it was like a McDonald's commercial for that particular market. And then through the pandemic, I have not. I didn't think I was keeping up with headshots, short hair, and everything. And then through the pandemic, I got like long hair again. Something happened. You couldn't get your hair cut because they're 6 feet away, you know, whatever. So I like long hair. So my headshots have kind of looked the same for the last 3 years, and my agency didn't particularly think that was progress. And so they sent me a Dear John letter. I don't know, about a month ago. Email like saying, "Hey, you're inactive too much for our roster." And I kind of sent them back a really a polite but snarky information letter where I said, "I think that you should think about that." And I was like, "Here are the things that I offer to you, and here's what I've been doing, and here's what I have coming up." And I was actually going to ask how much of a cut you get on this. And I was like, "So, you know, I would like for you to carve out," and this is how the audacity I have, the sheer audacity I have. I was like, "I would like for you to carve out a special role at your agency for someone who is offer only. And then you don't bother me for auditions and things, but when I can help you and you can help me, you're my agent." So I laid this out to him, and I was like, "And if that's not cool, I understand. You know, I'm a 50-year-old actor, writer, singer, songwriter, musician, crazy guy. I don't actually give a shit about this. You know, like I have a house and cats and a wife, and I'm really kind of happy. I just like to make art. This is one of the ways that I do that. And like, it would help if you want to do it, but if you don't, I'm cool. I really appreciate your time, and
I'm good, guys.
really appreciate everything that you do for everybody else every day. And I'll see you." And so they didn't respond. So I'm a free man. I took them up my IMDb and then promptly booked a union gig. Which is,
All right, guys. I've got the Bobby B bounce squad. It's very good to meet you. I will be back in about 20 minutes. So if you guys are still going strong, I'll be back in about 20 minutes.
My poor wife thought I was going to be here from 7 to 8, and it's almost 9, 10 now.
Oh, you guys keep on talking a little bit, because I know Ken has a few more questions for you.
Sure.
I'll be back in a few minutes.
Let me grab my water.
We should take a break. Let's take a 10-minute break, and then we'll come, if that's okay.
Yeah, sure. Let's take a 10-minute break.
And maybe we'll
I could do a 2-minute break, but I don't know how much longer I can stay after that. I'm pushing the limits of how long I can.
No, I understand. All right. Well, I'll just ask you a couple of questions about. I did enjoy, and I presume you did the music for this. I did enjoy, of course, when somebody leaves. I kind of get thrown into a visual frenzy of things that happen, and I gotta change some stuff on the back end. But I think that I really did enjoy the shark. What was it called? It was Dr. Kitty. No, yeah, it was the Dr. Kitty and the Ford Windstar experience. It seemed like it was like, what is the? If I could find, I had notes for this and everything. It reminded me of Sharknado meets Trauma meets like it, and it's a music video, or is it a part of like a feature film?
That's an actual film. That's the one I was talking about earlier. It's called Stephen Kang, K-A-N-G-S, Kang's Sharks of the Corn. Yeah. And it's available on Tubi and Amazon and everywhere. But the actor that I busted out of the handcuffs, Steve Gwynn, he posted on Facebook, he'd written a little acoustic guitar song about Sharks of the Corn, and then he challenged me to write a song about this movie we're in. Mm-hmm. So I wrote the one that is pictured in the video you're talking about. And then I got permission from the filmmakers to get, and Ronnie Jonah, my friend Ronnie Jonah actually edited it, to have Ronnie cut it. Like I filmed myself on green screen, so playing the different parts so that could be inserted to it, right? And then I had Ronnie, she edited the film, the entire like 2-hour movie down to 2 minutes and 12 seconds or whatever it is, you know? So, and I had to get permission from the filmmakers because I'm like, man, this is going to spoil the whole movie, right? You know, this is like it's the Cliff Notes version, the musical Cliff Notes of the entire film in 2 minutes.
Oh, sure. So, I mean, promotion is promotion. It seems like any kind of promotion, you know, is good promotion, is it not? I
Yeah.
guess you don't want to give away the ending, but I was thinking, okay, I was trying to remember. It's like Children of the Corn meets Sharknado. Is my guess of kind of what happens in the. Am I way off on this?
No.
Or
It's
is it more hunting sharks?
This is another Tim Ritter film. This is like the Truth or Dare guy, Tim Ritter. He made this film and he wrote it and directed it and shot a lot of it. But he and he's in this video. He pulls a shark out of his mouth because the joke is he's eating popcorn and he finds a little shark in it. And he's like, "Now they got sharks in the popcorn!" Like it's the director's little scene. But so that's in the music video where he pulls it out. But so I think the producers at SRS Cinema, I think is the distributor for that one. If I'm messing up, I'm so rad. But I think it's Ron Bonk at SRS Cinema. If I understand the story correctly, he sent Tim Ritter this meme that was just like a cornfield with like fins in it, like sharks, and he's like, "Make this movie." And then
I mean, it does have some pretty. I mean, you see a lot of sharks, and you see a lot of the like in the music video you made. So I mean, it's not a less is more. It seems like the more effects they could cram in to the film, the better it was. And
the highlights again of the film, the best explosions, the helicopter, all that's in the music video. Again, it's this massive spoiler for the whole film. I've just basically cut the whole film to 2 minutes. You know, just as long as you don't care what's going on, there it is in 2 minutes. But
yeah. I mean, but it's high camp level. It's high concept. Can you maybe give us a little heads up of where the sharks came from? I mean, are they land sharks? Are they what is
an ancient cult involved with Stonehenge resurrects like a half shark god thing, and it's just like it's a Native American burial ground of Native Americans who worshipped thousands of years ago this shark god. It's Chi something, which it's like a XI or whatever. It's a really like a lot of X's in the name, like like an Aztec word or whatever is the because I like in this song I sing, because then the Chi shark goddess is revealed, and it's the Chi is the part of the name of the Quetzalcoatl or whatever that the evil shark goddess. But so it's evil forces that combine to create these sort of pseudo levitating sharks that actually then take monster form and become humanoid, and they make this whole shark cult of people behave that they control their minds. And it's
you pulled some Stonehenge in there. I mean, the imagery it looks like you had a real shark teeth at one moment.
Actually, we were on set one day, and it was during COVID when we were shooting like in a cornfield, so we were plenty social distance, and the crew was so minimal. It was like the director and his wife were the crew, and then the rest of the actors were there. And like we're doing a scene, and they're like, "Oh shit, we don't have a puppeteer." I'm like, "Yes, you do."
Yeah, you showed up.
And it was like, I love fucking puppets. I love doing anything telling puppets. Like you're throwing me like, "Oh no, not that." That's my favorite thing. So. I got to puppeteer the shark for that. I just have to say that because that was even more fun than being there to pick the handcuffs that they got stuck in. Was
well done. I mean, really, showing up, it looks like you were in a cornfield. You made it there. You made it happen. Yeah. I mean, that's tough to do. I made a zombie film, and we had a special effect, and we used live rounds. We used a shotgun to blow off the zombie's head. Dangerous as hell. And I'm sure those shark teeth were really sharp, and you could have poked yourself, but you kind of made it happen. I don't know if we do that these days. I don't think we pulled a shotgun and blow a zombie's head off.
I've done homemade blanks in a shotgun before, but we were very it was like we needed a shot of the gun going off at the camera.
Yeah.
We were it's for a thing called Goat. It's a film that hasn't ever been released, and it's just like a little short about the the Goat Man at the Trestle in Louisville, whatever the fuck it's called. I can't think what the name of it is. There's a better name than just Goat Man. Or maybe it's just Goat Man, whatever. But so there's a history of this creature, and we made a whole thing about it. But at one point, my friend Snooky corners it at the barn and wants to fire a shotgun at it. So we used real shotgun round, but that it had been modified by one of our makeup effects guys, to make it a quote unquote blank, so it would be not blow anything out, but would make a big bang and spark and smoke and shit, like a real round had gone off. But we still set the camera up and then started it running. And then, like, the worst that was going to happen to us was we were going to shoot the camera, and it wasn't aimed directly at the camera. It looked like it was. So, but yeah, we had success. But yeah, these days that I don't know how live rounds would end up on a set. They shouldn't be there, in general.
Yeah, I think it's different than it was 10 years ago or 5 years ago, even
sooner than that. It's changed because of the Rust situation.
Sure. Live guns on set, but I mean, being from Kentucky, I mean, I grew up around guns. I'm sure you did as well, and so it's something that in California would never do it.
Yeah, we did a bunch of shorts in Vegas and LA for a Paratime project, which is a science fiction thing I did. Another favorite novelist of mine is H. Beam Piper, and he killed himself in the 50s. I won't go into it too much, but he felt unsuccessful and he killed himself. And then so his books are all public domain now. And so I had written this Paratime universe, these shorts. But one of the guys that was one of my actors that helped fund the whole productions in Vegas and LA, he was former FBI, he's retired, and we just used his guns. We just made sure they weren't loaded. We did everybody, we did clearance and walking around, showing everybody it's empty, an empty clip, and then everybody would just hand out guns. So it's real guns, no ammo. We did all of our ammo and explosions and shit on that in After Effects, just put in digital.
Sure. And that's the way. I mean, it seems like that's the way to do it anyway. I mean, nobody should be pulling any triggers anywhere.
I don't know. I've got a bunch of. They're probably hidden behind. Well, I'll be able to grab one real quick. I have a bunch of airsoft that I keep. Part of my costume and prop closet. I have a whole bunch of airsoft guns that look too.
Nice. Yeah, that's pretty realistic.
Whatever. Get hold of me. I don't generally like to loan them out, but if you cast me, I'll bring it with me.
Oh yeah. Well, I mean, that's a real thing. That's a real thing. I definitely
tell you, if you ever get guns, loaning them out is a problem because they always come back as a fucking pile if they come back at all.
Sure. Absolutely. And anything you loan out. I loaned out my keyboard. I got a Roland Jupiter that I loaned out, and they broke a key. It's like, how did you break a key? Like, oh, it fell off the keyboard stand. It's like, what do you mean it fell off the keyboard stand? It shouldn't have ever been on a keyboard stand like that, to fall off.
Yeah,
it was a punk rock band, so whatever.
I can't afford to give to you, like, so.
Right, exactly.
If it's something I can afford to give to you, I'll be like, yeah, please borrow this extra copy of Hitchhiker's Guide, but bring it back, and then I won't sweat you about it.
I got 2 copies.
We buy them used anytime we see any of the books used. We buy them just to be able to have them to give away.
I got the whole set, like all the books in one volume.
I've had a couple of different ones that they kept getting a little bit bigger as they added that 5th book. So
or was that Live Universe and everything? Or I can't remember what the 5th book was.
It's
For all the fish.
Restaurant the Universe, Life Universe, and everything. Long Thanks for all of it, and Mostly Harmless. And now there's one called Owen Colfer that's like written to be a sequel, but I bought a hardbound version with the first 3, and then the first 4 plus the short story Zaphod gets a home run. I forget what the fuck it's called. There's a Zaphod short story, and then I got
it's between the 4th and 5th book.
I'm just old, so I have had different versions.
Sure. I think mine is like the 1980s, the first one that had like 4 or 5 of the books in there.
Oh, the short's called Young Zaphod Plays It Safe. That's what it's called.
Yeah. I think I read that.
Bound. That was the first 4 in that. It was a beautiful Foley. I mean, it was just a beautiful. I gave it to a friend for Christmas one year because I had gotten the one that had the other book in it. So.
Such a good series. Did you have any thoughts or questions, Sulker?
No, I liked hearing all about about board gaming. I was never so when I was younger, I did a little D&D gaming, but as far as board gaming, I played a lot of games by a company called Avalon Hill.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Figure.
And so they put out a series of games back in the 80s. They actually put out the original Civilization game.
They did a lot of bookshelf style, right?
Huh?
Like it's what they call bookshelf style games, right? They were all looked like, yeah. I think they had a game called Rail Baron that my brother and father would play the dog shit out of.
Yeah, I've never even heard of it. I used to play Acquire and Civilization, of course.
Yeah, Acquire is definitely I may have an Acquire here in a box somewhere.
That's a really good game.
Yeah, that's fun.
I think that Daniel and I and a couple other random people were talking about playing Axis and Allies.
Yeah, that's another good one like that. I think that's the same bookshelf format too that I have.
Yeah, it's there. I didn't realize there were like so many different versions. Apparently, there's a global version and there's like a 1938 version or 9 version. I was definitely blown away. I guess Avalon also did Hero Quest.
I don't know. Did they?
Which was no, I mean I'm just looking at their their
I'm pretty sure Rail Baron game is a real wild game. Talk about it just bore the piss out of me to watch them play some of those games. Not Acquire, but there was some boardroom game, and I was like, yeah, board is right.
that, like a Monopoly, but for like executives.
Mm-hmm.
Boardroom, the game where you like hostily take over your friends.
Yes, they're companies. Yeah, I was just like, this is fucking boring. Boardroom is right. Get out of here.
Truly bored.
I do remember though when I was it's probably been about 20 years, and I can't remember the game, but I used to have a friend who would collect a lot of these old board games from the 70s.
Yeah.
And he brought one out.
Yep.
And we started playing it. And we didn't even finish it before we all looked at each other and we realized this is the worst board game that we've ever played. This is the rules. It's like most of the rules are edge cases that could come up. There's nothing that's really universally applicable. And we were trying to play it. It was some sort of fantasy-themed board game. It wasn't a role-playing game. It was an actual board game, and I can't remember what it is. It's probably for the best because it was horrible.
Just absolutely. It's good when you like get to that point where everybody looks around like, this is a fucking terrible game.
We didn't even finish it.
Yeah.
Burn it with fire.
Sure. They made a lot of those.
You are a gaming thing. If anyone is near Bowling Green, this weekend is Kentucky's longest running science fiction convention. It's Concave, and they have gaming the whole time. They have game tables and game rooms and everything. It's a great time. And if you're 21 and up, they usually have your membership.
Vouchery is what I've heard. I've got some friends that.
Yeah, I don't really know about it. It just sounds. I feel very convexed.
There you go. Yeah, the Concave began in 1979. It was by the Western Kentucky University Science Fiction Club that had formed, and they started this convention. I ran it for about 12 years, from 2009 until 2022. Although we have it except for summer of 22. We our last one, we did get under the wire the end of February in 2020. We had a great convention. It was really the last full Concave I ran, and I ran a summer one in the summer of 22. That was the last time I did it. Or summer 21.
I bet for a lot of people that event was the last thing that they attended before the lockdown, before all that all started. I remember I went to a wedding weeks before everything shut down, and everyone who was there, it's like, yeah, that's the last event they went to before 2020 really hit.
Yeah, we had a big old time. We had a really great Concave that year, and then everything shut down like 2 weeks later, there was no. They didn't even have a basketball tournament.
Yeah, nothing. There's nothing. Nobody was on the streets. I mean, we're still coming back from that. I think it still has echoes.
I loved it. Like, please, like, don't tell me I have to stay home and make art all the time. I started painting. I hadn't been relaxed to paint since I was in high school.
Sure. I mean, last night when we went to the Lexington filmmakers meeting, I can probably count. I've been to about 10 events of that size.
That's the first one I've been to like that. I was very uncomfortable because it was something. Yeah. I got medical issues, but my shitty immune system attacks me, and so I go once a month to pay a whole lot of money to have them put something directly into my blood over a slow, like sometimes 2, sometimes 4 hours every month to stop my immune system that attacks me. So my immune system's shitty. And then I take this thing to make it shittier so it won't attack me. And then I take another drug every day to make sure that my shitty immune system doesn't build up immunity to this drug. So I'm down. I'll be on pins and needles for the next 3 or 4 days, hoping I don't get some kind of
Sure. Yeah, I probably wouldn't have gone. I take care of my grandmother. She's 95. And if I usually, about a week before I'm with her, I don't go and out. But I had the flu really bad about 2 weeks ago, and that sucked, and I still feel shitty.
You're not contagious, are you? Because
no, I'm not contagious.
Good.
I did the Thermoflu. I haven't had a temperature in close to 2 weeks, so it's not. But it was the flu A. It was like the flu, diagnosed and everything, and it
I'm glad you're feeling better.
Go away. It doesn't go away. It just keeps happening. And then last night, it's just like, am I going to get COVID now?
Yeah.
I mean,
I'm not worried specifically about COVID. It's just anything. Like some asshole just give me a regular cold, and you can fucking kill me.
Sure.
I haven't seen how shitty this immune system is, so I have to be real careful. So that was, we didn't stay very long, and I went out to smoke a couple times. I tried to get in and out as friendly and amicably without actually having to stay there too long, because that shoulder stuff was like, oh my god, I'm gonna die.
I enjoy it. I met a bunch of people. Bill, take over. I'm gonna be right back.
Oh shit. Hi. What the fuck are you talking about?
How was your audition?
It went well. It was really fast. Fast and hard. I like it.
You didn't take
video auditions.
Yeah, I really liked not having to leave my house to go and make a monkey of myself for somebody. It's the thing. And like I said earlier, I've gotten to the point I'm so old and stubborn. I'm like, I don't know that I audition anymore. I really don't think that that's something I do.
Yeah, it's definitely one of those things. A lot of the I'm just starting out. I mean, I've been acting for like 5 years or so. Like actually professionally acting for 5 years and being part of different short films and web series of my own and such. And that's actually how I know Ken. Anyway, but when it comes to like actually making the move to LA and doing the push to be in bigger stuff, more well-known stuff at actual feature films and television and whatnot, it is a different ball game. And the auditions, a lot of them, they're from places like Backstage or Actors Access.
Yeah.
And it's a lot of student films, so I'm like twice as old as the director, which is fine. But it's also one of those things where like, I'll come into it and I'm like, I'm not entirely certain what, like I come into it with a, for lack of a better word, a very mature perspective of I'm here to work. Like, I'm going to know my shit. I'm going to be on time, which means early. I'm going to get the job done, and it's full on. Yeah. Whereas I sometimes talk to people, and this is not talking about the specific interview or audition I just did, but sometimes it's really laissez-faire and just kind of like, we're just kind of doing it. And I'm like, guys, I'm doing this for real, So.
Yeah. So I mean, that's the difference between like not being in LA or New York or whatever is necessarily taking that seriously. Well, so I'll give you some advice about LA because all I had to do is move there for 10 years. And I feel like if you stay there and you if you grind there for 10 years and you can't make it, you forget about it. Like even the office people, it took them 10 years, most of them, to get to where they were. to land that role. But so all those student films and things you would land out there, do them, because sometimes one of them will flip and turn union. Like a little short project will flip, and then ta-da, you just got eligible.
Right. Right.
You want people that are like, oh yeah, we might try SAG. You know, you want to find stuff like that to work. My advice, and we did it. I didn't. In 2010, I was like, we're going to LA. Here's what we're gonna do. And we booked a place at the Oakwood, which is like where like one of the Coreys died. It's where they put up Nirvana and Guns N' Roses when they make their albums. This is where they put you up, right? So you can book a stay. So I booked a working vacation of 1 week at the Oakwood. I booked the Oakwood as a place to stay, and I'm going there to have fun. But I'm going to try and work while I'm there, just out of the box. So the first thing we do on Monday morning is Central Casting. It's the second largest employer in the state of California. The first largest is the state itself. The second is Central Casting. Now, they have union and non-union, both, that you can sign up for. You pay the fee, you sign up, you immediately start doing it. It used to be that you called. Now it's their Facebook page. You immediately apply for everything as fast as you can get it, as fast as it pops up. Anything you fit, any casting call, you keep doing it, and then you're working. And even while you're working, you're still looking at Central Cast to get more work. But that's the way to start getting in the business. Like, notoriously, Brad Pitt didn't want to use Central Casting for background actors in his movies for years because they had blacklisted him, because they caught him booking background jobs, coming on set, getting his voucher, getting a wardrobe, leaving and going to auditions instead of being there to work. You know, it's a big crowd of people that's supposed to be there, and he just ducks out, goes to an audition, and comes back. He got blackballed him from Central Casting. And so for years, when he produces his own films, he would try and use, and he couldn't get around. I think he started using Central Casting like in the last couple of years or whatever, or bigger films he's had to.
He was discovered flipping burgers, wasn't he? Is that the, like, he was discovered working at a Taco Bell or something?
Maybe he was doing that too. I do know he was actually working Central Casting and got busted because he was going to other auditions while he was supposed to be in the background scene, you know. And so they blackballed him. But you know, that's you bust your ass at Central Casting and you get lots of film credit experience. A lot of people tell you don't put that on your IMDb, don't put background stuff on there. Again, I'm a unique case. I feel like when I say I'm offer only and I don't want to audition anymore, it sounds like I've made it or I'm all success. No, I just don't give a fuck about making it or anything. I'm more than happy where I am in my life. Like, what is it that I need money for? Like, you know, hungry, you know, I have kind of a mixed relationship with capitalism in general.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
It's,
capitalism. Yay, capitalism.
I made a little joke to one of my buddies, Alexander Lieb, that I met when in LA, and he's in a bunch of stuff, and he kind of in a couple of years later did the same thing. But I was like, man, you know, I've been doing auditions and working in background and then doing auditions trying to get leads, and this was union stuff too. And I was like, you know, I think I'm gonna go back to Kentucky and hoard cats and eat whatever the hell I want and work in my garden all day, and this can all eat my ass. And
that sounds familiar.
Like he sold his condo in LA and bought a farm in Southern California and just moved out to the garden.
I was talking to my special lady friend / girlfriend, and she was like, you know, because she's from here, and she was like, yeah, you know, how is it? You know, tell me about Kentucky, all this stuff, and I was like, okay, let me describe Kentucky to you real quick. One of my very good friends, actually Holker knows him as well, and he might be a guest on here. Got him Chad. Chad the Beard is what I call him, because he's got like a Leonidas beard. You know, when 300 came out, he was like, dude, got that thing going on. Huh?
Is this Chad in Lexington? Chad the Beard?
He's close enough, and yeah. So he was like.
I recognize. I think I saw Chad in one of your films. Am I wrong about that?
So Chad was supposed to be in the startup, but he wasn't.
No, there was a guy in Double Brothers, the guy that played the Australian. I think he was in one of.
No, that's Josh.
That's Josh.
And he's got a fabulous beard as well.
Burns, is it Chad Burns?
No. You likely do not know this dude because he's not in acting and stuff. Although he could be an actor. He could be an actor if he wanted to.
He'd be typecast, but it'd be okay. Be worth it.
Oh yeah. Anyway, what Chad says was we're talking about LA. How's LA and all this bullshit? And I was like, well, this is how much I'm paying, all these things. He said, for the rent that you're paying, and I have pretty good rent. I'm in the Valley. For the rent that you're paying for a room, just a room, we don't rent, sorry. We pay our mortgage each month.
Yeah.
For the rent that you throw down a rat hole, for a room, we pay our mortgage each month on a house.
Yeah,
a house with baths and fucking, yard and privacy, trees and shit, and fucking children. Like,
palatial compared to anything I could afford in LA. Like it is, and it comes down to the main thing is in life. Figure out what makes you happy, and then go. For me, it's not like fame in Hollywood. I don't want to deal with that traffic. It's being at home. I just want to, and I like to create things. I like to create, and I put together a band, and we played last Friday, so I have a band now. I've been releasing music, but the whole bit of the Ford Windstar experience. I'm Ford Windstar. I'm Dr. Kitty. And so my album Dr. Kitty and the Ford Windstar experience. I'm playing all the instruments. There's no fucking way I could play this live. It's be me running from one thing to the next. Like, and that's not possible. So put together an band to go out. So I will do things and leave, but I'm motivated more by like what makes me happy than and that
makes sense. And that should be.
Can I afford to do that makes me happy? I would make a lot.
That should
more money, but
that makes sense. At the same time, you were in LA for 10 years.
No, I didn't stay there 10 years. I would just go like I go 3 to 6 months a year for about.
Oh, I see. You didn't actually stay. I see.
No, my buddy had a place out there where I could stay for free, and then the bit was he could stay here at my place for free.
I see. You had it worked out.
Had children here that were still in school. He had divorced, and so the kids lived here, and they're all grown and gone now. And he's actually moved back. And he was very successful out there. But like the rent there, 3-bedroom house was like $4,600.
Yeah.
That's almost 5 times the cost of my mortgage.
Sure.
Thing is,
bigger.
I agree with you. In my life right now, being out here is where it needs to be. Because what I was doing,
things that you need to then figure out. You got to figure out. You're young too. Like it's hard to even know what you want in life. I've been married for 25 years. Like I definitely am what I want. It's settled. I want free health.
Holker,
fair, capitalist, equitable society with no caste system.
Holker and I have known each other a long time. We had a band and a couple bands, and we've had this argument several times. Holker, what is best in life?
Oh, well, I know what that is. It's to hear the lament, or to see your enemies driven before you and hear the lamentations of their women.
And what else? The wind in your hair, the open step. Wrong. Holker, what is best in life?
A foosball table.
See, the motherfucker can play some foosball. He can play some foosball. Hey, go on.
You go ahead.
Hey, Holker, who's our sponsor for tonight?
That's a late night sponsor.
I think your sponsor is He's just bursting into uncontrolled laughter.
Uncontrollable laughter.
Ed will know the sponsor was the.
If you're naughty, Holker comes and does this while you're asleep.
And this QR code for Dr. Kitty and the Ford Windstar experiences album.
Sure, that's a sponsor. Whatever.
What is that? Are you?
Yeah, whatever.
Are you on?
I'm on all of them.
That's a good one.
All right.
That's pretty good.
Thank you, Holger.
Sponsor. Sponsor.
And all of them.
Where'd you get the Ford Windstar experience? The name from? I mean, like really.
So
being in LA.
my buddy,
was it?
My buddy that I keep talking about, Finn, had somehow he had been given by his uncle a Ford Windstar van. It was in my driveway, broken down, and he and I were trying to fix it. And for whatever reason, I was behind it watching for, I don't know, the brake lights or something. For some reason, I was stuck while he's fucking around inside the front of it and under the hood. I was stuck looking at the back of this thing, staring at where it says Ford Windstar, like for a long time. And I was like, it's a pretty good goddamn name. And I just had a reason, I forget what it was, to do something with a fake name. And I was like, well, that's what I'm going to do. I'll be Ford Windstar. And then for a while on Facebook, I actually changed my name to Ford Windstar until somebody bitched about it. It was like, that's not his name. And they were like, if you're Ford Windstar, you're going to show us your ID. But it was funny because I really just like didn't think anything above it. And then I went to some movie meeting when my Facebook profile name was that. And like they were calling for Ford. Like they were like, "Hey Ford, what do you think?" And I didn't know who the fuck they were talking to. That's me. I'm Ford.
No, have you gotten any cease and desist letters from the Ford Motor Company?
No, I wish. Like that would mean they paid attention enough. That I was big enough that they gave a shit. Like, come get me. Like I've had indie filmmakers release films where I'm Ford Windstar in it, and they drop the D. I guess because I'm afraid of being sued, so it's Ford Windstar, and I'm like, that's not my name, motherfucker. It's D Star. Like you can't take away my D.
Yeah. Don't you know my name?
I don't think that they would need to drop the Ford. In general, it's not the logo. You're not using their logo.
Or anybody else named Ford. These are legitimate names. God damn it.
Yeah. Windstar is pretty. Yeah. Okay. I like it. I mean,
if they come after me,
you're promoting their vehicle. Is the Windstar discontinued, or do they still make the mighty Windstar?
That's a good question. I don't think they do, but I don't know for sure. They certainly don't make the 70s model like this. Yeah, if they ever come after me and like, you can't be that, I'm gonna be like, fine, I will change it to Ford Fuckstar, and then you could live like that.
Yeah, good.
You all, I hate to be the one to wrap it up, but I can give you. I'm going to give you a 15-minute warning. How about that? Like I need to go by 10. I think my wife already went to bed. I already fucked that pooch. So now it's just a matter of I don't want to screw up my day tomorrow.
Welcome to my life.
When I stepped away, it was to go kiss my girl goodnight. So I was like, I gotta step out. That's important. Cultivating your relationship is.
You gotta cultivate, man. I do have a few other questions for you, unless Ken, you have a few, because I don't want to.
No, go for it. I think I ran out of questions. I mean, I got more questions. I always have more questions. I think you should.
Well, the first is so obviously on the GGP, we do another podcast. It's DreadLore Live Play, where we play DreadLore and different campaigns. In the event you're interested, to join one of the one-shots, we're going to be doing some pre-recorded one-shots. It'd be awesome if you joined.
All about scheduling. If I'm available, I can do it. I was under the impression originally, and now we ran too long, but that he was like, normally we run our guests through a one-shot, make them role play. Well, like, that sounds good. I'm into that. So yeah, for sure. Let's just send me a time on that you're going to record or whatever, and I will hopefully be able to make it. Yeah.
And I can send you the DreadLore core book. It's free on DriveThruRPG and on DreadLore.com if anybody wants to go. That sexy ass website. Which I need to revamp in React.js.
DreadLore.com tonight.
DreadLore.com. Anyway, that's the first question. So right on. The second has to do with, what are your thoughts on social media? And I can guess where it is, but okay. Let me frame the question. You create a piece of art or a project or whatever you want to call it. Call it music, call it film, whatever. You want to put that out into the world. You want people to see it. Now maybe you're not seeking fame, but obviously you want people to see it and enjoy it and celebrate, the art.
Yeah.
Using social media to do this, I think Ken can jump on this. What the fuck? Go.
Well, okay, so let's go back to talk. It was when there was just MySpace before anything else, as far as like, because it was me and a bunch of my musician friends, and we would all try and post a new song every week. So we were all like on this little recording thing, you know, and we were on a kick where we would just try and like make as quick of a demo of a song and slap that sumbitch on MySpace on your page as quick as you could.
Yep.
That was really cool. And now then you fast forward, that went away. It's not cool over there like that now anymore. And so the Facebook thing, if you fast forward to now, like I put out a single in January, music wise, and I didn't run an ad on Facebook. Usually, I think I did run ads back in April of 23 for the album. I just held up the QR codes. I did run ads for that on Facebook. You know, not a lot. I take my paltry $50 or $75 and spread it over the release date week. You know, and then really strongly targeted micro targeting bullshit in it. You know, to try and get it to people who will actually listen to it. And the cool. If there is something cool about it, the cool thing would be that I don't have to worry about trying to sell CDs out of my trunk to people. That's what social media does for me. I can give the product, and this goes for the short films too. I just have to get people to either listen to it or look at it. Like, that's all. They don't have to pay me anything. Just look at it. Just please, just fucking look at it, or just listen to it. And then I'll get my 10th of a 10th of a 10th of a cent. So, you know, is look at it, and if you like it, please tell 1 million people.
So it's really word of mouth.
Thing too with the videos and the music, and that is, I can have one song or one video get 100 million hits, or I can make 100 million songs, and they all get one hit. And somewhere in between there is a balance that, you know, can maybe help supplement my income somewhere, you know. So I just keep plugging at it. And then the other thing, like social media / YouTube advice, like I had a YouTube channel, the Cat Nipper channel, since 2009, was monetized, right? We had Google AdSense, and then they changed the rules, and they're like, you don't have enough subscribers or hours of content, and you don't get the money. But we still put the ads on your shit. And I'm like, oh, well, that just blew that was in 2017. I guess they changed the rule, because I was making that other short to go on there, and they were like, by the way, you want to make a nickel? I'm like, So, I get around it. Here's how I get around it. I put out a song and then copyright that son of a bitch and send it through my publisher, and they have bots that'll crawl through YouTube and find my music anywhere. And so I'll use one of my copyrighted ass songs in my own closing credits in my short film, and so I get paid for that motherfucker one way or the other. Like, warning when I upload it, it'll say, warning, you have copyrighted content. I'm like, yeah, I know, you better collect their damn money.
I noticed that. I noticed that too a little bit. Like I'll get a few pennies here and there.
Yeah. So I throw
when my music is attached.
Every short I make, it gets a song.
Yeah.
If I have to write for it, it gets a fucking song. So there's a chance to make money someday, you know.
It is wild. It is wild. We're making a lot of content for people. I was sort of lamenting the other day, which, you know, of course, everyone who makes films, I think, or is an actor or a musician, whatever, can understand this maybe. The idea that sometimes it feels like I'm doing everything around actually making the film. Like, I'm building the infrastructure, I'm doing the social media bullshit, I'm doing all the ticking all the boxes that you have to have. And then it's like I get an audition and I'm like, oh shit, I have to act. Oh fuck. Oh, I have to remember how to act, because I'm so used to not acting. Like, people are like, oh yeah, everyone's an actor. It's like, actually, no, they're not. No, they're not. Not everyone is an actor. Maybe everybody themes, or I just made a garoond out of that word. Maybe everyone acts as though they're an actor, but they're not a fucking actor. You're an actor if you act, right? Like you actually have to do it. You're a filmmaker if you make films. You got to actually do it. And I'm starting to get this sense, this chutzpah, if you will, of just not doing social media. Like I do Twitter, and a lot of people fucking hate Twitter. They can all suck my dick. I like Twitter.
I'm on there.
Yeah, I like Twitter. People will actually engage with you on Twitter. What'd you say?
It's called Twitter. I'm only calling it that.
Oh yeah, I mean, it's just better than fucking X. I like Elon Musk. Everyone can, again, you can eat shit. I think Twitter's better, so X, fuck it. On Twitter, people actually engage. And I mean like a case for Twitter. This is just my own experience. I will message someone. They will message me back. On Instagram, it's just reels and virtue signaling. Now, is there a lot of hate and nastiness on Twitter? Yes, because it's more open.
Oh, I play the block game on Twitter. Sometimes if I'm just in a mood, I'll just go and search for a certain key term, and then just everybody who's putting that on, I will block. I'll sit and block. I wish that on Facebook I see everything I block, and it's just pages of block people. I don't think there's. I don't know. Maybe there is a way to see it on Twitter, but mine is like it is one of my pastimes. Like
I don't block anybody. I don't block anybody.
I'm getting ready to block about 500 son of bitches until my phone battery dies, and then I'm all about myself.
I don't
block people who threaten me. When people threaten me, because like people threaten me sometimes. I just have that wonderful persona, like, and they feel like they can, like, you know.
You might poke the bear. I don't know who's threatening you. They might be just assholes. But you also might be trolling the fuck out of people that threaten people. Maybe you should stop that.
Well, I don't anymore. Like I did a lot of trolling in 2020 and 2019.
Well, there you go.
I'm in a different world now. Like I'm inclusive, not exclusive.
Well, that's the thing. Like there is, like, I think we get onto a freedom of speech thing, which is political. My idea of Twitter is, again, back to the experience. In my experience of fucking around with TikTok, Instagram, all those, Twitter's the only one that I've messaged someone and they've been like, oh yeah, let's get on the GGP. And they have been on GGP, specifically Bill Allen. I think it's like episode 3 or 4, and has been fucking awesome. And
I like speech, but
actual quality people.
Yeah, Liam Neeson, I'm a big fan of Liam Neeson. Free Liam Neeson. Elon, let him go. Let Liam Neeson back. Elon.
Who is Liam Neeson?
He's blocked. He's been silenced by your free speech master. Your free speech master can't handle Liam Neeson.
I don't know who.
Somebody who's.
I am ignorant of this and therefore cannot.
Yeah, there's a whole back and forth bullshit thing that they have going, but Elon kicked Liam off. I don't know if he's back yet. He threw him off earlier last week and then capitulated and brought him back, and then he said something else, and Elon couldn't take it. He couldn't take the heat in the kitchen.
I'll say this about Elon Musk. Everyone loved Elon Musk. Everyone loved Elon Musk, and then suddenly they didn't.
I mean, who
There's a reason for that?
I mean, you gotta love them. I mean, there's definitely no way you could be like, these are the quantifiable deaths that come with hoarding $1 billion. I mean, that's not, you know what I mean? Like,
I don't know. I mean, I'll argue that to death. I think if
he's no worse than anybody else with $1 billion is what I'm trying to say. Let's
right, like that's what I'm trying to say. Is it's very easy for people to be like, oh, fuck you, Bill Gates. It's like, yeah, you know what? Go fuck yourself. If you had a lot of fucking money, like a lot of fucking money, everybody wants a lot of fucking money, except for like, you know, an Aborigine or like somebody who's like actually gained peace.
It's a cap. That's the answer to everything. That if we just had all the money, but seriously, there's a quantifiable death toll with hoarding $1 billion to one person. Like,
really?
It's actively taking resources from other parts of the planet. The money isn't just an infinite supply. You know what I mean?
Right.
Like, if you have $1 billion, then that's why we don't have a middle class. You have 740 billionaires. But I mean, you know, like, we don't have to get into all that. You were like, Ken always brings up politics. But so let's do one quick political thing, because it goes into your social media thing. I'll tie it into the questions, and I got to. It's my clock that I set. So if we had a even just limited global conflict skirmish that affected the satellites, because here's the thing that, there was a little rumor about had some kind of anti-satellite weapon. Well, it's really dumb to blow up a satellite because that trash doesn't go anywhere. It becomes all bullets, and it's flying around destroying all of the other satellites and making a big old ring, a beautiful from space, I'm sure, viewed ring around the Earth of fucking trash, but you won't be able to get a ship through it to go out of orbit. So if there is a skirmish that somebody decides, because the American military provides global satellite positioning for the entire planet. We pay for it. Everyone uses it. The only alternative is your boys Starlink, and if you can pay for that, you can get that too. But that won't work either if you have fucking satellites blowing up and sending shrapnel everywhere. So one of the potentially, let's call it, silver linings of the destruction of satellite technology and what we're using now, and pretty much the internet, except for what maybe a land structure that might build up later. One of the potential outcomes would be the loss of social media, and I think that's maybe a net positive for humanity. I don't know, but I think something that would be fun, that would be another net positive of that, we would get video stores back. You couldn't stream shit; you'd have to get video stores back. So physical media would return. And so would the mail in a big way. And if you're old enough to remember a thing called the Sears catalog, Amazon would have to tool their shit real fucking fast and be mailing everybody big ass catalogs to mail in. Check, because checks were a big thing again too, because you couldn't bank, Zelle, anything, PayPal. That's gone. So, we'll see.
You got wired. Internet works with wires. We got fiber optics around. It's not just satellites.
That's given us a lot of our WW. Now there are transatlantic lines. I feel like that we're back to practically dial-up at that point. Like you're not gonna get a location tracker on your phone to tell you how to get to the Walmart tonight, or whatever.
Oh yeah. Sure. GPS would be a thing of the past for sure.
We'll have maps. Everybody will learn to read a map. I'll probably have a class where I teach all the millennials to read maps.
Sure. I still have my old Thomas guide. I don't know if it still works, but I still have it. If you can imagine doing LA traffic today, like imagine looking at a fucking map.
Yeah. Good times, man. Good times. I at one point was riding a motorcycle before GPS. And so motorcycles with maps, that's a fun one too. It's pretty much pull over. Figure that shit out again. Hey, listen, you guys, I do need to go, but man, this is fantastic meeting and talking to all of you. Real excited. I will follow the channel now, and I look forward to getting to try out this magical game.
More live play.
Yeah. We'll do some live play.
All right. Thank you very much, Claude Miles. Any anecdote before you leave? Aphorism?
Zaphod's just this guy, no?
He is.
Thank you very much, sir.
Thank you.
All right.
All right. Do you want me to give the closeout, or do you want to do it, or just?
I'll let you do it.
Thanks to our Patreon.
Thanks, Patreon.
Tim Roberts, Daniel Hulker, Nostalgic, and Natalia Cline.
Natalia Cline.
Totally gonna hit the button to do it. Correct. All right. My production value this week has just been.
You're running on 3 cylinders, man.
Our media production done by not Couchfire Media this week.
It was good. What are you talking about?
Well, Replay Production is
those guys
on it with all the other shit that happened. This last hour or so has been the Geeky Gamer Podcast, featuring Claude Miles.
Claude Miles.
Thanks. Anything else? We'll be back next week, Monday.
Next Thursday. Next Thursday with the GGP.
Yeah, with the GGP.
Right about 7 p.m. on the YouTube. I think we're just not going to use Restream.io anymore. I think we're just going to use YouTube and be like, fuck yeah.
YouTubes.
We will be doing our Monday podcast, DreadLore live play. where we will be
Red
doing
Writ.
the Red Writ,
The Red Writ.
a horror campaign.
Or if nobody
done.
shows up, we'll be doing Into Space.
Into Space, which is a nearest future Starship Troopers style campaign. Check that out. It's on Twitch, 7 p.m. Eastern Standard. Check out DreadLore. You'll find it. So Mondays and then Thursdays. And if you can't catch us live, go to any podcast and guess what? We're there. We'll be there. We are there.
Fuck, I don't know.
If you want to join the Patreon, then you can get access to our After Hours podcast where we bitch and moan at each other and also talk about the campaigns and sort of a behind the scenes stuff.
And where
and,
we really get political.
We
Extra
go really
political.
political.
Or the opposite of, I don't know.
All of the stuff is in the descriptions if you want to connect with us. Jump on our Discord. If you want a copy of the DreadLore book, digital copy is free. And we also have one of those coffee tip things if you want to help us out in that regard. Blah, 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 blah. We just hit 100 subscribers on YouTube. Fuck yeah. That's a seminal moment, motherfucker.
100.
100. Bye. And it's going to be awesome to continue doing this. We're out, ladies and gents and peoples.
Bye. Bye.
Bye.